recording. So last week we visited on the historical perspective in education, but I want to recapitulate and revisit again. So way back, we remember that in the ancient views, if people are severely infected with some of these diseases, it can either be mildly brutally accepted in the society, or needless to say, they might be able to survive in the society where they believe that they are born in a supernatural or demon possessed. So therefore, special children long before are not yet really labeled into the different 13 categories, but they are believed to be attacked by demons and therefore they are put to death, or in any ways there should be a way to kill them. So because of their unique characteristics, some also were considered to be jesters or clowns in the castle. Some were also isolated and put to death into the isolation in the forest, just like our story, Victor, the wild boy of Aveyron. And when we go to the time where medieval was rampant in early Greece, they believe that these supernatural characteristics of the children also cause some is also caused by these natural elements in the conception of the mother. So therefore, the mother should have a proper diet when he or she will conceive a child. There should be an exercise and more on specific herbs should be eaten by these women or parents. And of course, there should be a connection between the mind, the body, and the spirit. So there's already a change of the concepts during the Greek and during these times in Athens. They also believe that because of the military forces that they have, those who are with defect are not needed in the society since they wanted their men in the army to be strong, well built. So those who are crippled and physically challenged are not accepted in the military forces. So needless to say that there was this so-called era of extermination. So meaning those who are with certain disabilities or even a mental health illness, they cannot join these tasks or forces. And also men are required to join in the military expedition during their times. And individuals who might be known to have certain disabilities or different extremities are lost in their body, they are also put into a lot of discrimination because they still believe the spiritualism that they are demonized or being cursed. Furthermore, if someone has a certain disability, you imagine this, they are put into chain. So, managipanggaid. Since Romans can be barbaric, they have those different clubs and different amulite that can really cause trouble to people who have disabilities. Another also are left to die in the hills. Maybe they are pushed to fall down into the hillside or in the cliffs. Some are thrown even because they are believed that they don't have a hopeful future. Others also, just like what I mentioned, if they are part of the royal family, they are locked away in the tower or in the darkest dungeon or the secret um, underground in the castle. Some are also drowned into the rivers or into the waterfalls or into the oceans so that they will really die. And the story about disability or these children were just put into silence. And fathers have the right to terminate the child's life, either having these different punishments and different barbaric way of killing the people. So these are some of the elements that was the treatment for children with special needs. How about you guys? Any say regarding this? Of course, no, we are really not in favor for these things. Now, there was a great transition on the Middle Ages, particularly in the European place where educational foundation was the highlight during this time. And because of that, we can trace back in the Middle Age where many discoveries, a lot of people already had known to be an elite individual since books has been published and printed during this time. So although there was a change in the knowledge of man for acquiring a lot of intellect with the books that they read, there is still that discrimination in the people with special features. They are having into a rigid caste system, so they are put into isolation. There is also an era of ridicule where these people are considered to be fools or servants, and they are even placed into circus. If you happen to check the greatest show, we can see those odd looking creatures or individuals. These are people who might have in our imagination during this time of the Middle Age. While some are still continuing the punishment of putting them to death, others were considered as clowns. Diba? In Cebu, we have the kasadya, and usually in the kasadya sa SRP before, nandiyan yung mga dwarfs and they can perform some tricks, they perform some amusement. Same also with this time of era where this dwarfism and these midget people are considered to be laughing stocks in their environment. Another one is they put they ridicule on those deformities, either on physical or maybe on the oddity on their faces. Just like these things, we have dwarfism during the Middle Age, and there are also individuals who might be locked up in their own wheelchair and other physical disability equipment. Then Renaissance came where a lot of changes happened in the aesthetics of the individuals and particularly for the vastness of books. Since books this time are already in the trading or merchants has been distributing a lot of books, and educational system was slowly opened by the other institutions. So the church also, they already started to put some institutions where they accept certain disabilities. They have the era of asylum, where it's basically children or people with a mental illness, and the emotionally and behaviorally disturbed are put in there. They have also took time in taking good care of the isolation since there were funds given for their different hospitals. No education first, but there was a treatment given since these prominent people has been inventing several medicines. But these medicines, they consider the disabled children or special children like a guinea pig, or murag gi-eksperimentuhan lang nila ang mga special children during this time, and they inject those medicines if mugana ba sa mga seizure, or if it would do something for the behavior of the people who are experiencing mental illness, or for example the tantrums masubside ba sila. But they still have this belief that once disabled always disabled, and even the words disabled is not acceptable this time, or for us this time, but for them they labeled it as disabled. So with the Renaissance period, more on humane society was slowly opening its doors to really do something for the children with special needs. When industrial revolution came, there was a massive information for young people, so there was a lot of people doing discoveries, production, and some of the individuals who can be part of the production team or servants or slaves are those people in the different extremities, such as the special needs. So more on vocational courses because they just need to produce products after their training. And some sheltered workshops also emerge, sproutly like mushrooms for during the Industrial Revolution because of so many inventions. Later on, we knew that in France there was this discovery of the wild boy of Aveyron, in which Victor was discovered by Dr. Edward Itard in that area of the mountains or hillside where he got this boy and he started studying, allowing him to manifest certain childlike behavior. With the use of his system and Montessori approach, he was also able to further his study since he died. His student, Sequin, also had his own set of ideas and training. And later on, because of these educational efforts that they had, another woman, the only woman ever presented in the educational timeline, is Maria Montessori in Italy. She was a physician by profession, but because of the many children that surrounds her during this time, because it was World War One, she created together with her team. They created a system to how these children in the hospital will still be able to be educated, even if they are locked down in the hospital. So she created her own set of toys, which are called the Montessori approach, and some seeds were slowly sprouting, and the massive change for special education has arrived. So these prominent individuals, they will ask you in the licensure examination, roughly in your professional education, there might be 20 to 25 questions regarding SPED, but mostly situational na siya ang question niya. Unsa ang strategy ni teacher, what you will do, or what is this specific learning disability, dyslexia, dysgraphia, and then you need to answer that one. But as a whole, as a teacher, it's very important that you have a background on special education because you don't know. These children might camouflage in your English class, in your social studies class, or in your other fields. And you might be that you will discover them and help in the early intervention. In the early 1900s, more studies was created for the children with special needs. And we have this one, the Iowa Braille School, which they are more on the mentally retarded children, or what we call now as mentally challenged. And because of that, it also paved way for other disabilities to be discovered and to be given with specific programs. Another contributions that happened during the early 1900s was the emphasis of environment, because there was a study that these children might be the cause or might be affected with the nuclear implant and the nuclear explosion that is happening during the World War One. We can also remember that in this time of era, there was this great discovery regarding radioactivity from Marie Curie and Pierre Curie, the couple who were great Nobel uh, Prize recipients in the discovery for two of the famous element, the plutonium and the, what's the other one again? Plutonium and I think uranium. But these two things are the two elements in our periodic table, which created a massive destruction. At the same time, it's actually a face of two coins, because the discovery of ore into these two elements, plutonium and the uranium, had created the impact on the alternative radiation, which leads to the discovery of X-ray, and the other one, it can also be used as the massive destruction for the use of atomic bomb. Kani sila si Marie Curie and si Pierre Curie. So with this discovery also, it had so many litigations, legal laws, even presidential decree given to these people, because the impact of those things, those elements, also affect the mothers and even these warriors that we have. Okay, now In this era also, there were a lot of contemporary issues, contemporary ideas that sprouted, just like inclusion. We allow the children with special needs to join in our classes. They are supported by the FAFE, or the Free Education for All, or we also later know this one as the Presidential Decree for No Child Left Behind. And in the Philippines, for our special education, it is somehow anchored to these American principles because they are the one who gave and paved the idea of these special needs and what are the laws that protects them. Another law is the zero reject, meaning if you're in the regular classroom or setting, you cannot say no to children with special needs. They should be welcomed and accepted, provided that they are in the appropriate and they are screened properly. A lot of laws also was created to protect these children in the special education. Another idea sprouted is this LRE, or the least restrictive environment. So if you can recall previous time, we discussed with this one that this is actually a model or a method that we need in a particular classroom, in a homeschool, or even in the um, hospitals where there should be less restrictive environment, meaning we modify and we accommodate certain activities so that the children with special needs will still be able to perform at their best. We work best with parents as equal members in our IEP or in our group when we want to help these children, even if the parents of these children are still in denial stage, even if they are really creating their own way, we still need to be equally partnered, working hand in hand with parents. Of course, we create a team for this collaborative work in helping our children with special needs. Now, indeed, there are so many things that happen for the history of special education and why these things are also helpful for us. So, this educational system, as what I've mentioned, is rooted on the American environment, and then we will transition to the Philippine environment and when it started to us. So with the human rights that we have in the independence for special education, we really can go back into the inclusivity, meaning special education before was only to the limited number. Sa katulang mga datu, mga puti, mga whites, and the rest can be left into least services given. But now, there were a lot of changes that happened. There were roughly 12 to 15% of the population joined in the activities. Okay. Now, we also can go back to the idea that with this certain can